Greetings, good evening. Thank you for joining us for the Journey with Love podcast this week. I have special guest, none other than Bryant Buntin with us. Thank you again for joining me. Appreciate you as always.
No problem.
And so I am Love. I am your host of the Journey to Love podcast, where we discuss topics around healing, dating, relationships, enlightenment on why love is important, and try to bridge the gap in the community on how we see each other, how we show up for each other as Black man, Black woman. So thank you for joining us here tonight. And Bryant, you want to give them a brief summary of who you are and where they can find you at?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name is Bryant. I am the founder of Sophisticated Arrogance, which is a male lifestyle blog centered around men's mental wellness and relationship health. We've also now just kind of expanded into managing, or rather more so including women in our conversations. So that's dope. We have a new dope venture called Complicated Simplicity. So come check that out. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram, sophisticated.arrogance.
Nice. Let me see. What was that? Say it again. Complicated simplicity. What was it?
Complicated Simplicity. Right.
Complicated simplicity. I love that. Super dope. And congratulations on that transition. And I can't wait to see where that goes, what that expands into for you. So I thought tonight would be an interesting conversation to have around red flags, those rose colored glasses that we tend to wear when we first start dating, and the red flags that we tend to ignore, and maybe bring a little enlightenment to the topic and see if we can help people maybe avoid
Mhm.
those red flags. So let me ask you, Bryant, have you ever saw red flags and ignored them?
Yes, yes, and yes.
Give me a little background. What did that look like for you? Or how did, give me some story on that.
I mean, like red flags as far as you know, seeing things early on with someone that you kind of ignore just because you like them so much that you try to like just look over, gloss over things that might be a problem. And then the irony of it all is that it's usually those red flags that you overlook that be the demise of your relationship in the future if you decide to proceed with that person. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, usually the what I'm noticing is if you ignore the red flags in the beginning, that is always the demise of the relationship, because after a while you begin to resent the person, things aren't what you desired them to be. So I have to admit that I've been guilty as well of ignoring those red flags. So again, I just thought it'd be cool to bring awareness to that topic. And what do you think are some of the top reasons that people ignore red flags?
Oh, I'm gonna shout out my therapist, Joe, because me and Joe used to talk about this all the time. And he said the reason that we ignore red flags in the beginning is because of, from a scientific perspective, he said when we meet someone and we're so enamored by them, our body produces this chemical called oxytocin. And so
Mhm.
it's the happy serum that makes everything just so amazing about the person. So it fits for your rose colored glass theme because it's exactly um, what it is. You know, you just focus on the best parts of that person that you overlook everything else because it doesn't matter, right? So that's how we start to overlook red flags, right? We see a couple of good things about that person, and we feel like it's enough. And once we make that decision, it's hard for us to be convinced otherwise, right? And I think with men, it's even worse because um, with a lot of men, a man will overlook every single red flag in the book if the woman is beautiful. I ain't gonna admit it, but I'll say that most men, if she's a beautiful woman, he's gonna overlook every other red flag that comes with it.
As long as she's beautiful. I don't know. I don't know if I can say it's worse for, men than it is for women. I think it's probably an equal balance in there because women fall short as well. We tend to see potential, in a person, or uh, come in as a big spender. Maybe that's how they stepped into the door, and, now that just puts that lens over your eyes. You don't see anything else. But yeah, it's a lot of factors, I think, on both sides that have us ignoring red flags. So,
Yeah, I'll give you
and
an example of a
yeah,
red
go ahead.
that
Hmm.
men they ignore, right? So let's say that a man he meets this beautiful woman, they go out on a date, right? go to a nice restaurant. Um, her interactions with the waiter or the waitress, very mean, rude, standoffish, right? And that should be a red flag, right? You should be able to look back and say, like, why is she treating this waiter like this? Why is she being so belligerent, right? But a lot of men will just overlook that. Why? Because she'll be very mean and nasty, disgusting to the waitress or the waiter, but be nice to you. So in your mind, you're just like, well, she's nice to me, so I don't care. But the red flag in that situation is that you have to kind of identify the situation and say, hey, this is how she treats someone who has to serve her or has no value to her. So it's kind of reasonable to think that once she feels that way about you, she will treat you like that. Like people will love you when they need you and they'll treat you good. So a lot of times men will overlook that because they're like, well, she's treating me good. It's because she wants something from you. You're seeing who she truly is based on how she treats people who could do nothing for her. Biggest red flag that us men overlook.
Wow. That's a great point. Like that's ignoring somebody's character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I couldn't imagine being rude to the waiter and then, because like you say, what does that mean? How you're going to end up treating me later down the line? So, okay, I can see that being the case then. We're not, okay,
It'll be the same with a man. You're going on a date with a man and he all sweet and protective of you, but he cursing everybody out. He like bitch this, hold this, slut that, but he's talking to you all nicely. How do you think he's going to talk about you once he doesn't feel that way about you? It's a red
right.
flag, but we just overlook it.
Yeah. I'm actually guilty of that on one of my most recent dating experiences. You're very nice to me, very accommodating and everything else. But then when we're out in public, you're poking fun at, people who maybe are overweight or, maybe have a handicap and things like that. And I felt just so uncomfortable to be in someone's presence that could be like that, but yet overlook that red flag, like, maybe they're not so bad. And I can't even say really I overlooked it because I stopped talking to them for about a week because it turned me off. But then I allowed them to, make their way back in. And things still ended up going left. And I'm always like, had I just listened to that red flag in the beginning, probably wouldn't even be here. So being aware of your patterns, I would say, is a big part of avoiding situations that can, lead to unfortunate events. And when I say like be aware of our patterns, because like for me, one of my patterns is that I tend to get attached very quickly and very easily. So being aware of that pattern for me means that I need to take my time extremely slow. I can't just rush in. I need to take maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks to get to know a person before I make any decisions on where I'm going to go.
Right.
What
Right.
other reasons do you think people ignore red flags?
Uh, Desperation. Um, yeah, I think it's just a lot of it goes down to people just wanting someone, and then you're willing to tolerate a lot more. Like I said, I can speak for men. The more beautiful a woman is, the more he's willing to tolerate. He's not going to tolerate that from a chick that he doesn't find that attractive. So the more attractive a woman is, the more men will tolerate. The more red flags he will overlook and tolerate. So
Okay. So desperation, or more so just the need for company. I guess people don't typically like to be alone, and once you get into a familiar situation, may
mhm.
allow you to become complacent. You think?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But like I said, I think for most men, it's just about how a woman looks. Really what it comes down to. I mean, like he's not going to overlook the red flags of a woman that he's struggling to find attractive. Like if he just like lukewarm, kind of likes her, he's actually looking for every reason to cut her off. But if it's a woman that he really likes, he's gonna overlook the red flag. Like, cause you see it if you're in the dating world, like this dude's that'll cut women off for every little thing. But that's because he ain't really into her like that. So he's
Okay.
just leaning and looking for every little reason to cut her off. So he's looking for the red flag. But when a man really likes a woman, he's going to overlook all the red flags. Majority of them.
So what's a red flag for you that you look out for?
That's a lot. My life, my experiences taught me like to pay attention to the smaller things, and everything has a story though, so it's not necessarily a red flag. It's a warning flag until I hear the whole story behind it, right? So
Mhm.
a couple of red flags for me would. be you know,
Oh shit.
hmm? Does it?
I thought I ended it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple of red flags for me would be like, hey, a woman who is a serial dater who's probably dated like 40 people in 1 year. That's like a red flag to me.
Okay.
Um, because that just shows me this person has the inability, either one of the two things. You have the inability to maintain long-term connections, or you're just horrible at picking men. Either one is bad. So, you got to pick your poison on that. But that's like a red flag to me. Like, why are you dating so many people in a year's period of time? Like, what is it about you that, like, is it that you get bored quick, or is it that you just don't pick properly? And like I said, they're both bad. So,
Right. Okay.
I told you about the whole restaurant thing. That's really a red flag for me.
Okay.
Um, yeah, just being mean and mistreating other people. What's recently become a red flag of mine that I never used to pay attention to, but now I pay attention to a lot? A woman who gossips.
Mm.
I know it sounds
Okay.
crazy, but like all women gossip. Nah, if you out here talking about your close friends, like nah, you not it. Like, like if I'm with you and I'm talking to you and you have people that you've known longer than me, but you're telling me their business, like yeah, I'm not messing with you.
Mm.
Like you got to have some confidentiality about you. Yes, granted, we're dating, but you still owe that respect to those people because you knew them longer than I did. So that's a flag because you're going to sell me out the same way.
Just no loyalty.
Yeah, you don't have no loyalty. You don't have loyalty to people who've been down with you for like forever. You definitely got no loyalty to me. So
Right. I agree. Okay. And let's see, we got Bryant here. He says, controlling behavior is a red flag, lack of respect, dishonesty, bad communication, jealousy, and possessiveness.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree, especially with that bad communication and the jealousy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fabian says when the sex stops, when the sex stops, that's a red flag. I guess once we're in the midst of the relationship, if the sex stops, red flag alert.
But I think that's like further along though in the relationship though. Like there's relationship red flags and then there's dating red flags, right? Certain things you won't know until you're like dating them, right?
Mhm.
But let's see what Bryant said, right? So he said lack of respect, dishonesty, bad communication, jealousy, possessiveness. Yeah, those are definitely red flags. And I think a lot of men too were brought up. I know if you were brought up like in the hood the way that I was brought up, you know, they used to teach you like, hey, a woman don't love you if she ain't jealous and fighting over you and acting crazy.
Mhm.
But we weren't brought up like that. We were brought up when people tell us, yo, that's love. That means she really F with you like that. Nah, yo, she crazy. So that we redefining that like she crazy. Okay. And like, some things are cultural too. Like they could be
Mhm.
red flags, but from a cultural perspective, they're not, right? Like, let's go into like a Hispanic household, right? A man being possessive, right, isn't considered a red flag in like one of those households, right? For the most part, because that's how they were raised.
Mhm.
A red flag for the rest of us. I mean, it's still technically a red flag, but it's considered, certain red flags are normalized. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So definitely a cultural thing as well. Okay. Let me see. What are some of the red flags that I look for nowadays? I mean, I'm fairly new out here in this dating field, so I'm just collecting them and, figuring this out as I go. But um, let me see. That's a big one for me, how you treat other people, that we don't know, the waitress, the doorman, whatever. Big red flags for me.
Mhm.
Inconsistency is a big red flag, you
Mhm.
know. Um, I'm an advocate for let's go for a quick coffee date or ice cream date or something like that so I can get to know you, real quick because showing up as a big spender right away for me, I'm sorry now, is a red flag, because yeah, it's just like, are you trying to buy my affection or something? And again, It could be trauma response. I don't know yet. Trying to figure that out. But for me lately, that has become a red flag. Let me see. That's pretty much the what I've collected so far. Things to stay away from. So um, I actually had pulled up an article to get an idea of why it is that some people ignore red flags. And like I was saying, with women, a lot of the times we see potential, so we'll ignore red flags. Not wanting to be alone. Once we get past that initial stage of getting to know someone and we've gotten comfortable with them, we'll tend to tolerate a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
as well.
I agree with that.
Yeah. But yeah, it says that red flags are often ignored in the beginning of a relationship for multiple reasons. A lot of it could be the way that we were brought up, as you mentioned, could be cultural, and the kind of trauma that we've dealt with in the childhood as well plays a huge part. And I'm like big on tapping into that inner child to see, what upbringing could affect my current day thinking. Okay, so again, I'm looking at myself in the aspect of is this lack of love that I felt affecting how I move forward? Is this affecting me from, actually paying attention to some red flags? So do you think that trauma, or as you stated, I know a lot of it's cultural, but how much do you think trauma plays a part in ignoring red flags?
A lot, a lot. I'm gonna tell you a story, but I gotta kind of like keep parties keep certain things discreet, right? But
Okay.
nah, fucking, I ain't gonna keep discreet. But yo, that was like perfect examples. Like my first ex-wife. Like that was like really like a trauma bond, red flags from jump between us. She was and I can say it because it's all public knowledge, and she won't like deny it. I mean, like she was a foster kid. You know what I'm saying? And like when you're a foster kid, you kind of grow up on survival instead of love.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they kind of move is a lot different, and you kind of see it. And with me being a kid growing up, um, you know, being in the shelter system, being emancipated at 17, I felt like we could relate because it was like, yeah, you was in the foster care system, I was in the streets. I thought we kind of like had a bond, so it was like a trauma bond, and it was at first like we kind of understood each other, but just because two people get along because of their trauma, like doesn't mean that they know how to help each other. Like you can understand each other's trauma, but you can't help each other. I can't help her because I can't help myself, and she can't help me because she can't help herself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it's one of those situations like when you get along, but when you don't get along, it's a disaster because we go and both respond the way we know how to respond.
Right.
And it was flags from the beginning. Example, get into an argument, you want to run away for like a week. Like that's a flag, but that's that fight or flight mode that she developed going through what she's been through, and
Mm-hmm.
the same with me. Like I was, I had a whole bunch of red flags about myself. You do something to me, you know what I'm saying? I was the kind of person that won't say nothing right away, but I'll set you up like 2 weeks later down the line. Like I was just like grimy like that.
Just
So,
petty.
huh?
I say just petty, huh?
Yeah, like petty, grimy. Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
how I grew up. I grew up,
Okay.
like, everybody's a victim. So, it was just interesting because it's like when it was good, it was good. But when it was bad, it was like we were going at each other, and it was crazy using like, whatever like attributes we learned being in our predicaments, but we saw the red flags, but we didn't care. So, you live and you learn.
Facts.
Yeah,
No,
that's like almost 20 years ago as a disclaimer. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. All too familiar with those darn trauma bonds. I think probably 90% of the Black community is too familiar with trauma bonds. Like we ignored all the red flags, getting together at such young ages. I don't know how old you were when you first got with your, started dating and getting into relationships, but I was 15 years old and was I 15? I think I was 16 and my ex-husband was 15.
Oh,
And so, yeah, we definitely, he had his trauma and I got my trauma and we brung them together and raised three kids under that umbrella of trauma. So, you know, still here now trying to make repairs and things like that. And also, though, learned from those experiences. Again, just making sure that I'm staying aware, not to continue to repeat past mistakes via ignoring those red flags. So, yeah, that trauma bond was a big one there.
yeah. But what I've come to learn is that everything isn't necessarily a red flag. It's all about context and understanding, right?
Hmm.
Like I
Hmm.
think it's unfair to see something that triggers you, call it a red flag, and then just walk away because you
Right.
don't understand. It has to be context. You don't know why a person is doing what they do. It is good to ask, right? We have a habit. I don't know if it's just me, but I think all of us do it. We have a habit of expecting people to do things the way that we do it, to move the way that we move, to
Hmm.
to make the same decisions that we make, and then when they don't make it, we see it as a red flag without taking the time to understand why they do the things that they do, because it might not be a red flag. It might be us. It might
I
be the way
agree.
we do things that are wrong. Like, oh, the, I'll give you an example of a situation like that. You know, so a woman might think that it's a red flag because when she's out with her man or the guy that she's dating, he cuts off his phone. And so she's like, oh, that's a red flag because based on her past situations with men, when men did that, that means they had another woman that they didn't want to call. Meanwhile, he might have grew up in a family where every time they went out and ate dinner, they had to cut their phones off and put it face down. That might
Okay.
be cool to him. But because
Mm.
she didn't even ask and thought it was a red flag, she ended the situation because of her triggers from her past. And
Mm.
that's why I said it's in context, and we need to start asking, because what's a red flag to you may not be a red flag, right?
Absolutely.
So,
That's a great point. And I was actually thinking about that earlier too. Like sometimes we do move too hastily without examining full context of the situation. And like I say, me, I am always examining, am I moving from my trauma or is this, reality that is happening here? So yeah, I agree. Let's see. Jamel said red flags for me is watching how she treats and handle people, men in particular. Someone who's selective with the level of respect she gives men. Okay.
yeah, and I think that goes right back to the restaurant like scenario. It's pretty much that. Like, how are you paying attention to how she's treating people?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, people in general, not just men or just women, just, people overall. You'd have to be respectable to humans in general. So, okay.
Yep, yep, yep. Ah,
Well, let me see here. I mean, we can always branch off into something. You know what? Matter of fact, let me plug the show real quick. December 16th, we are still looking for eligible bachelors and bachelorettes to participate. Also, this is a game show where you can come out and watch live, real live love connections being made. So, this is not just for single people. We desire to have audience members as well. We do have an open panel, open forum discussion panel, so you'll hear from a variety of people from all different walks of life. So married couples, can share their wisdom on how to make relationships last. Divorcees will be there on the panel to discuss what went wrong, what they feel like they could have done better. Maybe come here from some of the newlyweds, or newlyweds come here from some of the married couples. But again, this is an atmosphere for everybody to come out, network. Again, let's show up for each other, find our tribe and begin to love each other, show up each other for each other, elevate each other, and come from behind the screen into a brick and mortar setting. And again, let's make some connections. So December 16th, again, is the next game. If you are interested in participating, there is a link in my profile picture that you can use to register. So yeah, let's make some love connections. Let's take this journey to love. All right. So but what do you have new going on in regards to your brand? Like, where do you see this transition taking you to?
I'm glad that you asked that. So we are in the final phases of what I like to call the gender war. um, and it's becoming really toxic, devastating. It's not what it was supposed to be, right? So, give you kind of a historical aspect of it, right? So, um, you have like um, relationship coaches that pretty much are geared towards women, right? Giving women relationship advice, et cetera, right? Right. You got the Derek Jacksons, which he's probably canceled by now. You got those dudes. You got the Ace Metaphors. You got the yeah. What's the dude that be mad at everybody right now?
I don't know which one it is.
Only Gaskin. He mad at everybody right now. Um, and so they gear towards women, right? But then over the last couple of years, what you've had now was the rise of the manosphere and the red pill, right?
Mhm.
Which kind of started with the Kevin Samuels, but then it kind of expanded out. So now you see a lot more men out there, really talking to other men, putting out their message, right, to men. But the message isn't always a positive message, right?
Right.
Like I think like we've gotten to the point where um you know men are hating women and women are hating men, and so I decided to kind of use my platform to have these discussions because I feel like we don't really listen to each other and we don't talk to each other. We just assume what women assume what men think, uh, and men assume what women think. And I said, let me create a platform where people can actually talk to each other and you can actually hear somebody's like real point of view. Like, a couple of days ago, I think a lot of men were surprised because I asked a group of women, how do you feel about, random men approaching you in public?
Mhm.
And we're really surprised to hear that women don't mind that. They're just like, hey, be respectful of it because we're in a generation now where men don't approach women anymore. Everything
Mhm.
more so now is we're on our phones. You might see a man to see a woman in public at a party that he likes, but won't say nothing to her, but then will go home and do all this research to find out who she is on social media, this and that message. It's just weird. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
we're actually having those conversations so that men can kind of understand women better so they can be more comfortable with dealing with women and vice versa with women because today we're asking men you know what do you consider a feminine woman and what are the things that a woman can show you that would make you gravitate towards taking her seriously. And now men are actually answering these questions honestly because I'm creating a safe space for it,
Okay.
and it's beneficial for women because now women can understand what men are really thinking, and it's beneficial for men because men can see that they're not alone. There's other men that think and feel the same way that they do. So that's really the goal. The
Yeah.
goal is to really get us to the point to just instead of talking at each other and being disrespectful to each other, to really just have conversations to build better relations with each other because the way that things is going now, like men are gonna hate women, women gonna hate men. It's gonna be a whole bunch of baby mamas and baby daddies. It's just gonna be rough. So yeah,
A race of babies that hate the ladies. That's where we've made it to.
yeah. Pac predicted that like good
Yes,
30
he
years ago.
did. Reverend Pock.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's super dope though, and you have, y'all make sure y'all are following Sophisticated Arrogance. He's got a pretty large following on Instagram. I don't follow you on Facebook, but I'm gonna make sure that I do that. So it's always, a wide variety of topics,
yeah,
conversation happening, a variety of different opinions happening. And like you say, it's kept respectable. So, you can actually have a voice and get your point across and it be heard. So make sure y'all are following him.
yeah.
I
Appreciate
love that. I love that direction and that shift that you are taking because yeah, it's kind of scary out here with these gender wars, you know?
it. Yeah, everybody hate each other. It's just like it's horrible. Like and then and it's become normalized. And you know, um, we call men who really care about women and like women simps. We call women who want to be agreeable with men pick me's.
Pygmies. Mm-hmm.
Like just horrible. And it's like these people are the ones that are actually trying to understand the opposite sex. Everybody everybody just wants to talk over everybody. Everybody has this expectation of how people are supposed to be, and they're not. The reality of it is that social media is becoming a dangerous place because 90% of the
Yeah.
people are lying. Most people are lying. honestly.
I feel that
Uh,
way too. Yeah.
yeah, the life they're portraying on social media is not who they are behind the scenes. So it's a whole lot of hoopla on social media, but in real life, like the picture is different. In real life, the dating pool is trash, and social media, everybody makes it look like they got a whole bunch of options. In real life, people are struggling. That's how it goes.
It's all a dream. It's all a facade. People don't fall for it. So, yeah, I feel like that as we have a responsibility, though, I kind of feel like to um, be the positive voice because it's almost like to be on the opposing end is what is paying, I guess. That's why you have so many commentators with so much divisive information.
Yeah, everybody has something to sell, and that's really what it comes down to. Everybody has something to sell. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, we just got to use discernment about what do we want to listen to, and then it's ultimately what is our goal. Everybody doesn't have the same goal too, right? You got to understand, like, what are you looking for? Like, everyone isn't looking for a relationship. Some people are just looking for sex, and it's perfectly okay to do that, but you got to be honest with yourself.
Right. Be honest with yourself and be honest with the other parties as well.
Yeah, you manipulate
Okay.
someone who doesn't want what you want to get what you want.
Okay. Well, yeah, and make sure that you all are aligning yourselves with myself and Bryant. There's definitely always a positive message to be had. If you need
Yeah,
inspiration, motivation,
yeah,
education, we can provide that to you
yeah.
because again, it is time to bridge this gap.
We'll do it. And some days we do choose violence. So yeah,
And
it's
that's okay.
we choose violence some days, but it's all
Absolutely.
stuff, But yeah, I think once we start having realistic conversations and realistic expectations of each other, we can um kind of move forward. Um, I I feel, and I think we may have had this conversation before, that with today's social media era, we feel like we have more options than we actually do. We have
Mhm.
access to people that we've never had access to before. I remember growing up as a young man, right? Because I'm from before the internet era. And I mean, I'm what they call the Generation X. I'm not a millennial. I'm before millennial, but Generation X, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so, um, when we dealt with people or dated people, everything was done in real life. Like,
Mhm.
we would meet people, and they normally be in our neighborhood or people that we met from school. Um, and those are the people that we had access to. We couldn't go on the internet or social media and be like, hey, I'm gonna find someone that's in another city or another town. No, we didn't have access to that.
Yeah.
Deal with what was put in front of us. But I think now, because people have so much access to other people, then they want to kind of be like, oh, okay, I can have whoever I want. And then it's just this false sense of beauty where you see all of these Instagram models and social media models, and men are like, there's so many beautiful women out there, and then they look at the women in real life, they be like, how come you don't look like her? I want a woman like that. That's all unrealistic.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna say something that's gonna hurt people's feelings, but it's the truth. Average people need to date average people,
Okay.
right?
So people need to have honest measurements then of
Like,
themselves.
look, I'm an average person, right? I'm an average person. I
You're
have
not
no
an average person, Brian.
No, I'm an average person. No, I'm an average
You-
person.
You're not an average person, but okay, for this scenario, you can be average.
No,
Okay.
no, I mean, like, in the sense that, all right, there's different levels, right? And so it's like, as a man, you want to be dating these Instagram supermodels, right? Who have athletes, rappers, and all those type of people of that level in their inboxes.
Okay.
Dating your league, like, what makes you think that woman is going to get with you? But because you see so many of them, you're like, oh, that's the type of woman that I want. It's not realistic. And it's not to say that
Mhm.
there's not beautiful women out there that aren't social media models and Instagram models, because that's far from true. There actually is. It's just the more so to be realistic about it, to say, hey, let me actually shoot my shot at women that I actually have realistic access to that would actually date me, right? But we don't do that. I think women do the same thing. That's why you have social media models, because they're going after athletes, entertainers, movie stars, men of status, right? And you filming IG lives from your mother's basement.
Right.
It's wild. So I think we just need to understand, like, we're average, and average people should be with average people, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with being an average person. Nothing wrong with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. A lot of us, we don't have honest measure of ourselves, though, for some reason. I don't know if that's a social media thing. We can be whoever we want behind the screen, so we don't see ourselves or for who we really are.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
like, right. Don't it blow your mind when you see, like, and I make sure I say this the right way, because I don't want anybody coming after me talking about you're talking about us. But you ever see, like, a dude that's like out of shape, crazy looking, horrible hygiene, talking about he want a 10 and he want a fit woman and he want, bro, like, be the person you want to find. Like, it's just wild to me. But that's what social media has created. It created people with
Yeah.
realistic expectation. Same
Yeah.
thing with women. You know, you want a man that's going to spoil you and take you here and do this for you and do that, and you can't even do it for yourself. Let alone do it for him. You can't even do it for yourself.
Right.
You realistic, right? Like, so that's really what I'm talking about. It's like more so like
Okay.
being realistic.
A lot of people have unrealistic expectations. Y'all have unrealistic expectations out there. Y'all need to fix that.
You're gonna be alone, and people don't like to hear that. They be like, "No, I don't care. You telling me that I'm gonna be alone? I'm not gonna be alone. And if I was, I don't care." I'm like, I'm just being honest with you. I'm not like trying to
Mhm.
encourage you. I'm just telling you, you got to be realistic about, what are your options.
Right. If you genuinely desire to have a relationship. Like you said, it's not for everybody, and that's okay. But don't be lying to yourself talking about I'm happy, I'm single, I'm happy, I don't have to deal with that anymore. Stop lying to yourself.
Yeah,
I know you don't want to deal with toxicity anymore, but it's a lot of the times that be I don't want to do the work on myself. So I'm just gonna say I'd rather stay single. And
yeah.
it's so much better to do the work on yourself so you can attract that bomb relationship that you really truly do desire. So
Yeah.
yeah, honest weights. Good
I
points.
yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah, I was you know, I was asking women a lot of questions, like, over the past couple of weeks. Came to a lot of revelations, right? I don't know how many people you got right now that's like listening or on the live, because I can't see it.
Hmm.
But like, when it comes to dating, um, especially at our ages, we're older, right? We'll say like the mid 30s, early 40s, late 40s, etc. Right? Um, and this kind of plays into the red flags. It's like our criteria has to change on what we find important. Like, it's different,
Yeah,
like when we're 20 versus like early 20s versus like the late 30s, right?
absolutely.
For a man, right? Like, when we have these irrelevant conversations, like these conversations that really only exist online, such as 50-50 versus taken care of, and
Yeah. Yeah. Annoying.
yeah. And those conversations only happen online. They don't happen in real life.
There's so many people online feeding into this and just furthering the divide, though. It's ridiculous.
I think it's because they're unrealistic. I think, like, in most situations, I wouldn't say people are actually doing 50-50 per se. Like, nobody's looking and like, yeah, you're gonna do this 50 and I'm gonna do 50. No, but I think, like, in most relationships that I've seen, there's partnerships for the most part. Like, I don't really
Mhm.
see too many relationships where the man is doing everything and the woman is sitting pretty.
Right.
Even if he is, like, responsible for all of the bills, like, she's doing something as well.
Right.
So it's really about kind of being realistic about that. And I think as you get older, that kind of changes, because you won't really You'll hear that kind of talk from a girl in her 20s. You won't hear that talk from a woman in her 40s. A woman in her 40s isn't really concerned about a man financially taking care of her, believe it or not, because at this point, she's probably have her own stuff and her own life together, and she's just looking
Mhm.
for the important things to hers is
Companionship or emotional.
yeah,
Yeah,
it. So I think that's another thing too. It's like we need to do things that is relevant to our age group, make decisions, and listen to advice that's relevant to our age group.
I agree. I agree because, like, th- for me to direct my energy to passport bros, for example, when that's not, that's not anything that I'm into. I don't even know if that's within my age bracket or anything, but to put my energy towards things that is not for me or that I don't desire to experience would be a complete waste of time. So it just makes more sense for people to put your focus and your attention on what it is that you do desire or the kind of people that you do desire to attract. So for men to spend so much time worrying about women. Matter of fact, there's this one cat, and I don't know why I can't seem to unfollow him. He irks my whole soul on social media, and yet I just won't hit that unfollow button. But he's always making posts hashtag single women problems, right? And then you go in and you start bashing and disrespecting women and things like that, and it's awful and it's disgusting. You know what I'm saying? And you have a following, you have an audience, but you're married though. That's the thing. You're married.
Mm.
And it's like, okay, well, why spend so much time and energy bashing single women or trying to make it seem like being single, a single woman is a problem instead of like focusing on your marriage or maybe elevating married people. But yeah, we will put so much attention on things that's not even for us instead of, where we desire to be. You can't have it both ways.
Right, I agree. I agree with that 100%. Some people are just out there trolling, to be honest. Um, but people don't want to give good advice. Some people want to divide because the divide is where the money is,
Yeah,
keeping you single.
divide and conquer. I'm seeing that.
Yeah.
And
What
people are falling for it.
I hear somebody put $20 date. What is that in context to? I see Bryant. Bryant's like $20 date.
Yeah, I don't know, Brian. Brian, what we doing with the $20 date? Um, but yeah, I prefer the first date. I prefer it to be very low maintenance. I don't get different strokes for different folks. Matter of fact, I won't even knock anybody' preferences. If you do have a woman out there that says, you have to take me out on a $200 date for the first date, and if there's men out there that are willing to do that, then you know what? High five to her. I won't even hate on that. It becomes a problem when the men who can't afford that, I guess, that type of life want to begin to bash and belittle and everything else. Like, if it's not for you, then don't put your attention there. It's okay. Get your money up.
Yeah.
He says, uh, you were talking about the trends you hear about on social media with the $20 date.
Oh, what's the $20 date? I'm trying to. Is that like that date, that list where I'm confused? Is that the list of like the places that women said they couldn't be taken to? Is that in reference to that or something totally different?
Could you believe that little story made it to the news even?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's big.
Yeah, I couldn't. That's that so stupid. It made it to the news, Bryant. Why would something like that make it to the news? Like, where are we?
And none of that stuff is realistic. Women are going to Fridays, they're going to Chili's, they're going to Applebee's. Stop it. Stop it.
That's like if women are like that, and I have had men say that they have run into situations like that, but that has to be a very minuscule amount percent.
Oh, good segue. Because I'm about to start preaching a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
Good segue. Right. So people ain't gonna like this, but this is gonna be the honest truth. Like, so when I hear men complaining about women and complaining about women want to use us for food and women just want to use us for our resources, all that tells me is that you're not vetting women. All that tells me is that you jump into women's inboxes and say, good morning, how you doing? Let me take you out. When you do that and you don't build a rapport with a woman, you're going to get used. And you probably deserve to get used because you're not doing any vetting. That only happens to men who do that. Like, I've never had that problem in my life. And that's because I actually try to talk to people and learn about people and realize early on that, hey, maybe this woman isn't a fit for me. I'm not going to meet a woman, jump on her inbox because of how she looks until I want to get to know her, take her out and be like, yo, can I meet you somewhere? Like, just imagine you jump in a woman's inbox and you tell her that she look good and you want to go meet up with her somewhere. Not a date, but just meet up with her. She don't freaking know you. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, of course she's going to make you go through all of these hoops because she don't know you. But when a woman likes you, you're not going through all of that. None of
Right.
that is happening. When you take the time to actually get to know someone, the conversation is different. She's not going to mind going out with you to Starbucks. She's not going to demand this expensive
Facts.
dinner because she actually got to know you. You know what? She actually likes you. Y'all jumping in inboxes too fast. Y'all are talking to every single woman you can. You playing a numbers game, and then you wonder why you get used. It's you. Your approach sucks. You're spreading yourself too thin instead of trying to get to know people. Like I like to call it reads. Like you got hot reads, warm reads, cold reads. A lot of you dudes is going in with cold reads, and that's why you get the treatment that you get. Like a cold read is, I don't know this woman from a hole in the wall. I don't know if she has any interest in me. I don't know if she likes me, but I'm just going to shoot my shot. That's a cold read, and your chances of being rejected or turned down is higher because of that, right? A
Mhm.
warm read is you having a conversation with someone, kind of getting to know them a little bit so you can have an idea of maybe they might be a little bit interested. You got a vibe. You're developing a rapport. It's not a romantic rapport yet, but you're developing a rapport, right? They're talking to you. Then you can kind of be like, all right, let me see if I can take this jump to the next step. Got a better chance. Then you got a hot read is when someone's just flirting with you. You know what time it is. It's a hot read.
Right.
A lot of men just play the numbers game. They say all these women on social media, I'm gonna jump in her inbox and just shoot my shot. And then you get mad when you're getting used. I'd use you too, because it's like you're not even investing. You're not even trying to get to know the person. First thing you're saying, oh, you look good. Can I see you? Can I meet up with you? You're not even trying to take them on a date, and I don't even advise you do that because you didn't get to know them. But you're trying to be like, yo, let's meet up somewhere. Can you come to my house? Can you meet here? And it's like, I don't know you. You've done nothing to convince that woman that she should meet you or give you any of her time. So she's like, if I'm gonna give you any of my time, you're gonna take me somewhere and make it worth it. And then in your mind, you're like, you're being used. But yeah, you should be used because you're using her. You don't know her.
Right.
Like, but people don't want to hear it like that or see it like that. Right. So when men tell me that they have these problems, it's you, Playboy. It's you. Because I don't have those problems. It is you. All right, I'm done.
Mhm.
Okay.
Amen, Pastor Bryant. Let them know what it is. You are the problem. You know what? We are the common denominator in our lives. Like, if you're not getting the outcome that you desire, you have to look at you. And we have to get to a point where we stop pointing fingers at the opposing party because, yeah, you're the common denominator. So, if shooting your shot in the inbox is not working, then, examine yourself, see what else you need to do differently. So, great advice on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like
Um,
what Bryant is saying. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's the connection. Take your time to connect with people. That's the problem with dating now. We don't connect with people. We just shooting shots and see who. It's like going fishing. It's like you throwing your rod in the ocean trying to see what fish you're gonna catch. Full sun
right.
now. Like, come on, take your time. Be methodical about it. Study what happened to back in the day when we used to study people, man. Like you like someone, you study them, you get to have conversations with them, get to know them first as a friend, and be like, all right, and then take it from there. People, it's insane, you know. And then they just getting wild because they just send in like nude pics right away. Like,
Yeah, I can't say I've ever had that. Well, maybe not ever, but it doesn't happen to me frequently. Like, that's not something I can say, oh my God, this happens to me. I may have had it happen one time in my whole social media career in, like, 13 years on Facebook. So I don't know, but it happens.
yeah, yeah. It's like, here's my eggplant, and it's like, yo, bro, what are you doing? Like, women like, and the reason with that happens like that is because men think women are like us. Like men will get turned on like that. You send us some pictures, some breasts and some ass, we be like, whoa,
Right.
hey, we with the shits, baby. Women aren't like us. You just can't send a woman an eggplant pic and she like, oh my God, I want to get to know you. I want to see that. Nah, it don't work like that. You know what I mean? Like, so
And for men to not know that though.
they don't, because men are thinking from their perspective. They like, well, if I saw some titties and ass, I'd be hyped and ready to go. So let me see if I'm gonna shoot her the same thing. Then maybe she might be with the shits, and if you're not, then they want to get blocked. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because men don't understand, like, um, you know, the average woman, from my understanding, this is me talking to a whole bunch of ladies, right? The
Mm-hmm.
average woman has probably been getting chased by men since she grew titties, right? Age
Mm-hmm.
13, 14, 15, old ass perverted men looking at her, trying to holler at her since she was 13, 14, 15. She ain't
Right.
impressed by that shit. She ain't impressed by men hollering at her, because this is her whole life. Her concern wasn't about men liking her. Her concern was about trying to figure out which men actually wanted to get to know her versus which men wanted to sleep with her. So that's the
Right.
woman's struggle. Like, a woman's struggle isn't necessarily attention. The woman's struggle is determining whether it's good attention or bad attention.
Absolutely.
Men don't understand that, because for us, it's more of a struggle growing up. It's like, when we got a woman and we got laid, it was an accomplishment, because there was a lot we had to go through to do that. It wasn't easy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, women, you get offered sex every day. You walk down the block, somebody's offering you sex. They say, "Hey, beautiful," he's offering you sex. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? "Hey, gorgeous," he's offering you sex. "Hey, you need a lift to work," he's offering you sex. Like,
Okay.
sex all day long, every day.
Right.
And because of men, we don't understand that, because we approach women based on our thought process and based on the hardships that we go through. We're like, well, shit, if someone showed me attention, then I'd be with it. But they don't understand that women are constantly getting that attention. They've been getting it all their lives. Your goal should be to kind of show her that you're actually interested in her and getting to know her as a person. Like, and I think me and you had this conversation when I said, like, when we talk about the conversation piece, and one of the reasons I'm trying to build this complicated simplicity is that the average man, outside of outside of complimenting a woman and flirting, does not know how to have a conversation with a woman. If you
Right.
think back and you look at all of your conversations with men, if a man isn't flirting with you or complimenting you, what is he talking about? What is the substance? Can he have a conversation with you with substance that isn't grounded in anything sexual? Can he have a conversation with you where you're like, wow, that's really dope, and like, oh, that's really inspiring, or you don't feel like it's just sexual tension, like, yeah, he's trying to sleep with me, like. And we're trying to get men better at that. Like, where it's like, step away from sex. Yes, she knows that you want to have sex with her. Like, can we talk
Mm-hmm.
about something else in these conversations? Stop telling her she's pretty, but she knows that you think she's pretty, because that's why the hell you're talking to her.
Right.
Something else. But,
That's been an issue that I have run into more often than I care to admit. Men that just don't know how to carry a conversation.
yeah,
So, it's a lot of dry texting going on back and forth, or whenever we are hanging out, it's just super dry. So I require, like, especially, I need you to be able to take me out on a date. Don't ask me where I want to go. You take me out. Like, if you ask me out on a date, I expect for you to, bring me into your world. You know what I'm saying? I want to know what it is that you do. How do you have fun? How do you experience life? Because a lot of people aren't out here experiencing life, and a lot of people are just out here existing. And if
right,
you're just existing, you may have a pretty dull, dry, and boring conversation because you're not experiencing anything. Like, get
right.
out there and experience things, know who you are, have fun so you can have things to talk about. But yeah, that's unfortunately a very common thing. Men do not know how to hold conversations. A lot of men.
See, this is why I'm joining forces with you, because I'm gonna get into the matchmaker business and like just help
Mm,
people, because like it's just ridiculous the amount of
I
people that
agree.
have
I
conversations.
agree.
It's just
And also offering coaching services too. If you need help on becoming that person who is attracting the things that you desire, Bryant is able to coach the men, and I am able to coach the women, of course, for a fee, but we're here helping people to grow, elevate, evolve, become the best version of yourselves, because you desire to have a healthy relation. I mean, you deserve to have a healthy relationship. You deserve to have love if that's what you desire. But again, it's all about becoming the best versions of ourselves. You got to stop pointing fingers of blame at people, saying all women do is this, and start to look at yourself. So if you do need coaching services, we also are available for that.
yeah. I've been actually helping people out, and like have this one guy. that I kind of coach on a regular basis, and you know, just realizing like and watching people grow, change and go through growth cycles where you got to be open. Like you got to be open to seeing things from a
Mhm.
different point of view. I think a
Yeah.
lot of times we come in with our own perspective on how things should be. Like when I talk to certain men, and I gauge them based on the conversations on whether or not we can really talk and help them. Like if like it's hard for me to help a man or to really have a conversation with a guy who the only thing he values women for is sex. I can't. It's nothing I
Right.
can do for him. Like I can't have a conversation with him. Like we got to meet somewhere. We got to have a starting point where it's like, do you like women? Do you respect women? Do you actually want to have a healthy relationship with women? If you can't answer these things, yes, then I can't help you. Like if you're like, hey, all I wanted to do is have sex with women, I can't help you. There's nothing I can do for you.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So I think that's what it is as well. I think also with a lot of folks, there's a lot of people out there like giving advice. I kind of like to consider myself like the big bro. I don't really like have this, hey, I'm on this pedestal, you know, because I'll be out here doing wild shit too. So I mean, like, it's just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna teach you some things, but a lot of this stuff is based on experience. Don't do some of the dumb shit that I did. But
Right.
oh, but I learned from the stuff, and then I kind of move forward, right?
Yeah.
Because I know that like people, they're very selective on who they take advice from, and and that's perfectly fine. It's just more so like understand what it is that you're actually looking for. You're looking for a relationship. You're just looking to have fun. Like, are you just looking like? Because some people are just looking like men are looking, just to meet women, right? Where you have some women that are just trying to meet like rich men. So you got to kind of make sure you know what it is that you're looking for to align yourself
Right.
with the right type of people that can help you.
And to actually be honest with yourself. I noticed that some people still have this idea. Like, because when we're kids, we have this vision of what life is going to look like for us. I want the three kids, the house on the hills. I'm gonna be driving this Ferrari. You know what I'm saying? All of this, and then when we don't acquire what we thought we were going to have, we hold on to that idea and we feel disappointed. But yet we continue to hold on to that idea, though. So here we are in our 30s and 40s, thinking that, well, I didn't get to prove myself by having a healthy relationship. I haven't gotten the chance to prove myself yet by
Right.
having the 3, 4 kids. I haven't had the chance to prove myself yet by acquiring this or this, that, and the third. And sometimes you just have to let go of the idea of what other people told you your life should be or what you thought your life should be. Sometimes it's just like, let go and let it flow. Just let it happen. Tap into yourself, know what you desire, know who you are, and walk that out, because resentment is just not a way to live. So
Absolutely.
great advice. Well, we got about 2 minutes left. Any last minute words or tips, advice, anything you want to let the people know?
Yeah. Trust your intuition. You see a red flag, say something about it. Just don't act on it. Get context around it because it might not be a red flag. There might be a reason that a person is behaving the way that they behave and do things the way that they do because we all are not the same. We all will not react the same way in a certain situation. And it's unfair to to um to say that someone has a red flag because they're not doing something the way that you would do it. I think that's totally unfair. So yeah. Learn,
I
ask
agree.
questions, get context. Maybe he cuts off his phone because he was taught not to keep his phone on when he's with someone, right?
I agree.
Mhm.
I agree. Ask questions and be aware that you're basically on a high. You're literally on a drug. That oxytocin, is that how you say that?
Oxytocin.
Basically, you're on a drug, what I'm saying, those first 90 plus days. So be cognizant of that and aware of how you moving. That way you're not just so quickly ignoring the red flags. You got to remember, damn, I'm kind of high right now off this oxytocin. Let me make sure I lift these lenses up off these rose colored glasses. Okay. So awareness and know who you are above all.
Yeah, yeah. He on the phone in the other room cursing out his baby mother, talking about he gonna f her up, and you like, well, she probably deserve it. That's crazy. Yeah.
It's true though. She probably deserve it. Look.
He wouldn't
All
do
right.
that to
Well,
me.
I want to thank you, Bryant, for coming on with me again tonight. Hopefully, we can do this again. I look forward to seeing you on the 16th
Yep.
of December at the Journey to Love dating game. Invite, invite, invite. Can't wait to see you all there on December 16th. If you know anybody looking for love, send them not my way. We are making genuine,
Yep.
lasting
We are
connections.
we are looking for men participants. We are looking for men who are single and available and are willing to get out there and date. So hit us
Yes.
up.
All right. Until next time, remember life is a journey, not a race. Do it with love. It has a sweeter taste. Until next time.